Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our third episode of Beyond Beauty, Real Women, Real Conversations. Danelle, Christelle, and Heidi are joining me again this week, and we are looking forward to carrying on our conversation about enoughness and feelings of being enough. Last week, we talked about teenagers, young women, and they're trying to find their place in this world and their feelings like they're enough, and all of the influences now that there are out there that make it, I think, more difficult for young women now than when we were growing up to feel like they're enough. But it's not just young women, teenagers and young women who are struggling with this, right? It is I think they've called it the not enough syndrome. And it's the female affliction of the 21st century. So I think that, right, not good enough, not doing enough, not being enough. We're never enough. And I think the pandemic really brought a lot of that out as well, because as women, you're all multitasking, with families, kids at home, homeschooling, and there wasn't enough hours in the day for you to be able to do enough at that time. And I think it really kind of heightens that whole feeling of not being enough, from work to our home, from motherhood to sisterhood, to relationships and friendships. Women tend to find fault in everything they do. Am I right? Or am I right, ladies?
Yes. But at the same time, we look back and it's like we do so much as women.
So much. And yeah, it's crazy. And not only that, doing so much, but layered on top of that is kind of this need to be perfect, right? Need to be the best mom, need to be, the best person on the parent council, need to be the best at your job or whatever it is you do, right? Like there's this whole, not only being enough and doing enough and doing so much, but needing to do it in the best possible way that you can.
Yeah.
Right. And just putting that kind of pressure on yourselves or on ourselves in all areas. And I think that, the striving for perfection, the striving for enoughness, women globally are destroying themselves in pursuit of something that's not even real. Like there's no such thing as perfect, but we're all striving for this, whatever this is. And I think part of that is that not feeling enough. So we're trying to achieve to kind of fill in, the gaps. But anyways, I'm going to stop talking here and turn it all over to you. I have a question for you. When you hear the word enough, what first comes to mind? Don't overthink it. What first comes to mind? You're women. I know you're overthinking it.
So just the word enough for me, it's a direct word to say stop. It's a word to say stop, do that. Stop, stop to be like you, stop. You see? And it's not the same definition when you use not enough. But when I hear enough, for me, this word is like a sport. You are always running. You do that. Voila. And enough, stop. You can stop, do that. And it's really shocking word because it's net. It's like, comment on dit un ordre? An order when do that, don't do that. You see,
it's an order.
Yes, an order.
Yeah.
And I think it's a simple word, but in my heard, it's always an order. You see, it's a word to say enough, stop to run. you can take a pause for the moment. You
Mm.
see?
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, that is. And then if we look at the other side of it, we go with am enough. I am enough. I think of worthiness. Worthiness.
No.
I don't know how to say. Mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, being enough.
Okay.
For
So
sure.
now
Like
what-
I,
You're
what-
saying.
the word that came to mind, well, is just am I enough, right?
Yeah.
With all those pressures and everything. Like I feel like, you know, how we talked about as growing up as a teenager and stuff, but I feel like it's almost compounded over the years, right? Because you add more responsibility, you know, children, whatever it is, partnerships and all these things, and just adulting, and it's like, am I really enough, right?
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that. I that you go to a question. Right? You don't go to a definition, you go to a question like, am I enough? Right? You just default to that questioning yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Interesting.
In French, if I can,
Yes.
we said, suis-je à la hauteur? You see? Am I enough? Am I as tall?
Mhm.
I'm looking for the translation in the, because there is an expression in France to say, am I enough? It's to be as the same size. You see?
Mm.
It's to be at the good size for an objective, for a question, for your family, for your professional environment. It's like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Are there areas of your life now where you feel like you're not enough? Right? As grown women, right? Are there still areas of your life where you don't feel like you're
I
I'm
think we're all
listening.
thinking of different things right now. Yes, yes, yes. Let's see. Can I say where my enough stems from? May I
absolutely?
start it with that?
You may do whatever you want.
Okay. Okay. I watched my mom when I was younger. She did everything. To me, she was enough. And she probably didn't see herself that way, but she worked. My dad did not work. So she worked, she made the appointments, she took us to the dentist, she paid the bills, she cooked, she cleaned, she did it all. And so my enough, I look at from that little girl aspect as those are big shoes to fill,
Mhm.
because being enough is everything. And so when it comes to work, being a mom, all of that weighs on me. And to really look at that deeply, it's like that comparison of, am I enough? I am enough. I am enough, but I look at my mom and all the things that she did, and it was unbelievable. But
And
then
do you think she ever felt like she was enough?
no.
Mhm.
And I saw that too. And that bothered me. And I think that's why I compliment women to this day. I do it all the time.
Yeah, you do.
I really mean the compliments. In some little girl aspect of me too, I'm complimenting my mom.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I'm filling that void within me, within my mom, to compliment other women because she was so deserving, and I want to feed that part of me, feed that part of my mom, even though she's not here anymore, because it's so important to me.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to like Christelle, right? And you know, the smile and not liking that smile was really then something negative
Oui.
about her family, right? Like it was something negative towards her family by not embracing that and not loving that part of it. She was actually, you know, I just, for me, those two things are so related and so connected.
Ouais.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
So much of our ancestry falls down with us. And that enoughness is, it just, we have to almost push the bad that we bring with us as we grow up, push the bad away and pull in, I am enough. These things about me are enough.
Mm. Well, each generation has that opportunity to break a cycle, right?
Yes,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
definitely.
I think with myself and in the season that I'm in, I always question, am I enough or doing enough for my family, for my boys and stuff, because I'm so hyper focused on, you know, just giving them their best shot and like laying down these foundations, like, you know, manners, like using your manners, opening doors, like all these things. Like I don't want to say grooming, but I just want them to like to know these things and have that. I don't know where I'm trying to go with this.
Like you're trying to raise mindful young men, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. That's what I see
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
Ouais.
So that's
Yeah.
where I am in my season. So because it always changes and evolves. So
Oh, it absolutely
It does.
does. And I think, like we've said so many times in other conversations, right? Like it's a journey, and we never arrive. We never get there. I don't think we ever come to that point in time where we can say, I feel like enough in all aspects of my life, because there's just so many moving parts and pieces, and we're just here having this human experience, and you know, we're not in isolation. And so, you know, we've got all of these external factors, internal factors, triggers, like all of these things that yeah, life is definitely a journey, and I think womanhood is absolutely a journey.
Ouais.
absolutely. Yeah, when
So-
you mentioned that, sorry, when you mentioned that, I could just remember asking like my grandma, I'm like, when does that uphill climb end? And she just like bluntly, like, you know, it never ends. Like, I'm sorry, sweetheart, it's always an uphill climb. Like you
Yeah.
might hit a valley and then you go again. And that's just how it is. So,
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that, right, when we start to love ourselves, start to feel good about ourselves and like ourselves, like that reflection in the mirror, right, then we can weather those bumps on the road a lot more, and with a lot more grace and ease and flow, instead of the resistance, and then, you know, it triggering us into that defaulting back to not feeling like we're enough or not good enough, or, you know, not doing enough, right? Instead of having those feelings, we can say, we can see the experience for what it is and move through it, versus try to resist it or stay stuck in that space.
Yeah. Take down the walls.
Oui. So,
Layers of the onions.
Yes.
I think finally every woman is hard with herself. You see, for in my journey, in my young, my family, my parents were always proud of me. But for all my studies, I was persuaded, I thought I was not enough smart, intelligent to do studies, you see. but I am the first kid in my family with my parents, and my parents told me every time, oh, you can do study better than us. So I was alone, a bit alone in my study, but I was alone, persuaded I was stupid. And all of my life students, my result was 50-50. I worked, but not really hard, because I was, my mind for me was, I'm not smart. And however, each time I achieved my studies, and next level was a success for me. But even I was get this success, I was still persuaded I wasn't enough smart. And when I left school, university, I became a life professional with the idea I was not enough smart to have promotion, to have a big job, to have a big money, you see. And for a long time, about 10 years, I stayed in a job boring for me, but it was normal because I wasn't enough smart. And honestly, I told you, Tracy, it's really hard. I told you, Tracy, when I start to work with you, with Lam Life, you open my mind. I'm sorry. It's positive. You open my mind on my potential, on my smarts, on my brain. I have the possibility to do a big thing in my life. Voilà. It's hard, but I'm happy to realize this now. It's never too late to realize.
It's never too late.
You are not enough. You are all the universe. Voilà. So
you are beyond enough.
Okay.
we feel the joy in those tears and the happiness, as well as like a little bit of like relief, maybe. I don't even know if that's the right word, like realization. I am enough. I can do this. I am smart enough. I am good enough. I am capable enough. I am more than enough.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And we see each other in each other's stories and what we share. And I think that when we start to realize we're enough, it helps to see others see that they're enough too.
Absolutely.
Like
For
It
sure.
almost like gives you permission, right? Like it's almost like we need permission to feel enough, right? Like that, like you say, the word enough is like stop, right? It almost gives permission to stop trying, stop, pushing, and stop trying to achieve. Like you already are.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's the reason that it is really important to be with other person, meet new people who give you this this energy to have this permission to share you see, to share this subject, to inspire, to be inspired by other people who have this energy, no competition, no jealousies, just support, and be like together, and voilà, be happy.
I think that's a really important part is, right? There is no competition, right? And that's one thing I love about what we do and where we are, is that it's not about the competition, and it is about celebrating each other and really like helping other women see their magic, because so many times as outsiders looking in and observing, like you can see women's magic that they don't even see themselves. So
Yeah.
to be part of, you know, helping other women unlock that, or to be part of that moment when they
Mhm.
experience that, is just
Oh.
beautiful. Dee, you're going to say something.
Absolutely. Well, there's just so many things, like my mind's like even just listening to like Christelle talk, like, and all of you talk, and I'm just like, these women are amazing, and I'm so grateful to be part of that. And like, you know, like seeing you all like in this beautiful light, it's just like, I just have to say, it's just like shine baby shine. Like, I don't know why I'm saying that, but like it's so enlightening to see, right? Because we all can relate, like Heidi said, to each other's story, or see
Yeah.
each other in layers of that, though we come from such different parts of the world, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and it's, yeah, like just kind of owning that, and pausing and being in those moments where you can just say, I am enough. Like, the dishes can wait today. It's okay. I'm going to spend time with my family, or I'm going to do some self-care because I need that. Right. So
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
learning those, you know, healthy boundaries and stuff, like for yourself and for others. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense.
So-
Heidi, I see you.
I want to say a little bit about this. So when we're growing up, I'm gonna compare it just because I want to. I don't know if you guys have heard of the game Minecraft,
Mm.
and I'm sure
Yes.
people watching will have heard of this. There's two different parts. There's survival mode and creative mode. So it's kind of like we're born, we're walking around, and we encounter an enemy. This enemy could be not even coming after us, but we see it as an enemy after our enoughness, after our heart and our mind. So right away, we put up a wall. We put up a wall. We put up a house. We put up a city. And pretty soon, our enough is not even comprehensible because
Mm.
we've built this world of, and we're not even in a creative, we can't even go into a creative mindset because we've built these walls. And I think when we start to take them down, like together, that's one of the beautiful things. Like
Yeah.
you visually right now, we're taking those walls down and saying, I'm enough. I am enough. I'm enough in this area. I'm enough in my job. I'm
Yeah.
enough as a whole woman. I am enough with my skin, with everything. But there's so many walls to take down. Like we talk about, it is a daily work. It takes your entire life. Like we say, it is a daily task though, to just tell yourself, I'm enough.
Yeah.
So we need to be in that creative mode and get out of our survival. I don't know, something about that. Being enough there's so much to say about it.
Well, and I think that we also, like, our self-talk, right? Like, we internalize so much. And
Yes.
instead of like, I'm having a bad hair day, it's like, I have bad hair. Like, that's two totally different statements, right? But we so often go to, I have bad hair, because we've been telling ourselves for so long that I have a bad hair day, or, I am a terrible tennis player, right? I played terribly versus I'm a terrible tennis player, right? Like, there's just that conversation that goes on in our head day after day after day after day, that we then start to believe that we are that, versus, right? Like, that separation, that gap between the thoughts, the words, and the actual then internalizing and starting to believe it as it's true, right? The gap is like so small. And that's why, like, again, the power of words, right? And that negative self-talk. And
I say this a lot to people. Like, we talk to ourselves the most
Yeah.
in our mind. We sit and we
Yeah.
talk to ourselves. And
As
you sound
women,
crazy saying that,
more
yes.
than anybody, I think.
And I say, be careful what you say. Speak, like I speak or think before you talk. We really have to do that with ourselves first.
Yeah.
Think before you tell yourself something. You can really damage yourself with your own thoughts.
Oh gosh. Absolutely. Absolutely.
For
Okay.
sure.
So there's that part of it. And then there's the right. So it's kind of the words are there. But then internalizing those good ones, because we're quick to internalize the bad, but we're not so quick to internalize the positive. Right. And let's take compliments, for example, right? How often do you receive a compliment and how awkward does that feel? Right. How many of us can just say, thank you, right? We receive okay. So when's the last time that you received a compliment and you actually said, thank you, versus trying to explain something or dance around it or like avoid it altogether, right?
Right.
I know to say thank you when I receive a compliment, but in my mind, I think, oh, she's saying that because she needs something, because she is polite, because something. For me, there is an excuse for say a compliment for me. So you're right. We need to accept and like it.
Yeah.
And believe it. Yes, it's true. Well, yes, maybe it's true. I am a good woman. I am a positive woman, but it's difficult.
Yeah,
it is. It is just to like stand in that gratitude and that be enough. And not feel like you have to then give some kind of compliment back, or, if it's authentic and genuine, then that's one thing, right? But so often when we receive a compliment, we can't just sit in that moment and be grateful for it. It's like, oh, and I love this. Like, this is, you do this great, right? Like, it also almost then takes away a little bit from that compliment, because we can't just sit with that and be comfortable with it.
We almost dissect it, like, okay, we sit and think about it for way too long instead of taking it for what it is.
Yeah.
Because it's so hard to, again, tell ourselves that they're right. I'm enough, or, you're beautiful, or it is hard to accept a compliment. And yes, it's easy to say thank you, but we sit and dissect the actual compliment instead of just for taking it as it is.
Yeah.
Years ago, I met a girl and she was quite a bit younger than me, but it was so beautiful to see in ways. Like, you would give her a compliment and just naturally she'd be like, I know, thanks. And it was just and it wasn't in like a cocky or conceited
arrogant
way.
Yeah
Very genuine. Like, she was so uniquely secure with herself at that time. Does that make sense?
I love that.
Like, just, I know. Like, I say you. It was just so, it was just subtle. Like, I know. Thanks. I loved it. Right. So
yeah,
you can learn lots about accepting those niceties, right? So yeah.
Tell me, I think some compliments, some subjects for compliments are more interesting. For example, if I spent many hours to cooking or to about a job, I don't know, I am happy to receive a compliment for the quality, for the time, you see, for the love I give for this. And it's more difficult for a compliment for something I can control, you see?
Yes.
For example, Oh, you are tall. You are beautiful because you are tall. Yes, okay, thank you, but is not something I can control. Is not something for which I do effort. You see,
Mhm.
I am more shy with that. Maybe you, I don't know.
Yeah.
That is, and I've never
is
even
true.
thought of that before, right? Like
Yeah.
when it's something you put the effort into, then receiving a compliment feels good. But when it's just something that you really haven't done anything, it's just naturally you and your,
Oui.
your divineness, and you receive a compliment and that doesn't land the same way.
Like
Yeah.
kind of like when we like cooking a big meal. If I took my time on this, let me know it's good. But then, when we're expecting a compliment, like you even ask for one. Does it taste okay? Is that good? I took 6 hours on that. But then when we're not asking or expecting, it's like I didn't ask for a compliment. It's almost like that. There's the two-sided.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
there's lots of different parts of it.
For sure, especially when
Yeah.
you're expecting it, like talking about this whole like cookie thing, and in the beginning of the pandemic, and I decided I was going to make mushroom Wellington, and Mike came in the door and he was like, "What stinks?" And I was just like homemade pastry, like everything, and it was like my amygdala flipped. Like I was done because I worked so hard on that, and I wanted that. It was to get that compliment, and it totally backfired and not what I expected, right? And at the end of the day, I enjoyed it, and it was good.
I'm sure it was delicious, and I love mushroom Wellington.
And kind of going on that, saying it was good enough, and right there back to good enough for me. I pleased myself. I'm good enough. You enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's
Mhm.
something
For
in
sure.
that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to. Yeah.
Totally.
I think that, like, as women, we have really blocks around, accepting compliments, and actually believing and internalizing and believing those compliments. But I think a lot of women too have a lot of difficulty in complimenting other women.
Oui.
Right?
It's
We
true.
don't, like, we're good, we're solid, like we're doing it all the time. But I think in general, right, it's usually, I find in my experience anyways, in not in my like female relationships, but in like acquaintances, and it is so difficult for so many women to give another woman a genuine compliment.
Ouais.
Yeah. We're all.
It's
I
well, for sure, because you do think, you're like, is there? I think because so many people are misled by people, like there's that underlying motive or something like that. So you really kind of go in and you're like, is there something about that? Especially acquaintances and things like that. Like you kind of, you're not like, it depends how that person is and like where you guys are meeting, right? Because if I give a compliment, I genuinely mean it. And
Yeah,
I will say something to someone if I notice something on a woman, like there's lipstick on your teeth, right? Like, I will say that. And like some people won't say anything. And I actually used to do this years ago when at one of my jobs, like I would, you guys are going to think I'm silly for sure, but I would randomly have something on my tooth or something. And I would almost like intentionally, sometimes I did place something there to see who would say something. You're like, of course you would.
But doesn't that surprise me at all?
Just to be like, like I literally have stuff in my teeth, and you are just, it was mind blowing to see who would say something and who wouldn't say something. And it was just it, like not an experiment or anything like that, but just eye-opening in ways. I didn't judge anyone for saying or not saying, but it was just like, okay, like interesting how people are, right?
Yeah, you're doing
Yeah,
like a social experiment every day, hey?
Right.
In my early 20s, just like collecting the data.
But the
Now-
environment is important. You see, for example, in the personal environment with other women, compliments are easy. It's fun. It's a pleasure to give compliment. But in my experience, I saw in professional area is not them at all. It's
Definitely. It's that
Definitely.
competition element, right? And I think underlying that too is that enoughness. And
Yeah.
you know, if giving somebody else a compliment then takes away from your own
oui.
sense of self, right? Like
Mhm.
if you're celebrating or complimenting somebody else for something, then for some women, then they feel less than because,
Oui.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think in this professional moment, the word enough is always on the mind of women. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah. That whole enoughness. Okay. Last question. Right. We talked about complimenting and like, we're really great at complimenting, celebrating each other. Right. Do you celebrate your successes, your wins, and your achievements? And if so, in what ways do you celebrate you?
I start.
Christelle.
It's a subject important because before I start direct sales with Lamb Life, especially, okay, I never celebrate my success. It was normal. It was even if I do that, if it's not hard, it's not brilliant, you know. Now I realize the importance for me and for your family, for your environment. So now each time I achieve a success, even little success, always with my family, with my son, with my husband, restaurant and champagne, okay?
Yes.
Movie,
Yes.
just to say, hey, I am here today. I did that. I am happy. I left my job. I don't know, you see, but each time I success. I do the party with my family. I love that. And
yes,
I love that because I see the pride in the eyes of my son and my husband. Yeah. Wow. And I feel powerful. Yes, I am your woman. Your mom.
Well, and I think that's so important to share, right? Like share that success because they are there. They are your champions. They are the ones telling you how amazing you are and how brilliant you are. And so I think it's beautiful that you celebrate your wins with the people who are there championing you and celebrating you along the way.
Exactly. Totally.
Yes. Beautiful. Heidi Donnell.
Go ahead, Heidi.
You know, I like I might get my nails done. I have a hard time. I think it stems back to my mom, the enoughness, celebrating myself.
Yeah,
watching
you do.
her, she did not buy anything for herself. She would not. I would even say when I got older, Mom, just get that shirt. Please get that shirt. I know you like it. You just tried it on. No, I don't need it. I mean, she would go without all the things. And so maybe that I am just coming to this realization as we talk. So I may get my nails done, but it's not really a celebration. Maybe that's why I don't celebrate, because she never celebrated herself.
Mm.
Mm.
You appreciate being celebrated, but you don't celebrate yourself.
Yeah, I do appreciate it. Like when you guys celebrate me for a successful month, like that means so much to me. But
Yeah.
it's hard to celebrate myself because it's because of that. I know it is.
Yeah. Free therapy.
Thank you.
Totally, right? Because
Thank you.
I'm because I 100% like I feel I silently will celebrate myself and be like, yeah, that's awesome, but I will not make like a public announcement of it. And I know like Heidi, you know, we were talking a bit about this and you're like, yes, Danelle, like celebrate this and like shout it out and shout yourself out. And I'm just like, okay, I can do this. And I'm like, no, like I'm very modest, or I don't know, humble. Like I just want to not shout it out to the rooftops. Like that's not who
But
I
what
am.
are you
I'm very
hiding behind?
reserved.
What are you hiding behind? That's a story you're telling yourself, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Like I know I need to rip that Band-Aid off and be like, hello to the world.
And the way I look at like celebrating myself is that by me celebrating myself and the things that I feel good about, the things that I'm proud about, I am giving other women permission to celebrate themselves too. And I think if you can think of it in that way, then it's yes, you're celebrating you, but it's not entirely about you. It's about all women.
Oui,
Yes.
complètement. Yes,
Right.
totally.
Yeah. So I think that is a perfect place for us to end this episode of Beyond Beauty, Real Women, Real Conversations. I hope that you've enjoyed being with us today, and we look forward to being back here with you in a couple of weeks. And until then, ladies, celebrate the heck out of you.
Celebrate.
Yes.
And look for a public celebration.
Ouais.
in 2 weeks.